Welcome to Close Listening. I'm Zach Morgenstern, joined as always by silent co-host Ludwig von B. A while back, I was going through Neil Young's discography, posting album reviews of those records. But then after I hit Tonight's the Night, the public library stopped reliably having copies. I put a hold on something that was a few albums down the road in the discography, 1978's Comes a Time, and I finally got my copy. And it was a very enjoyable listening experience. I think the frustrating thing with this one, nothing really rises to the level where I'm like, wow, this is going to be a favorite of mine. But nonetheless, every song on here is just very well done. So no A pluses, but a lot of A minuses, maybe some A's. And what's great about this one, I think, is largely the music. It strikes a wonderful balance where the production isn't too heavy. You hear those rustic country instruments that were clearly an important part of Neil Young's personality. But on the other hand, it's not truly like stripped down, underproduced folk or blues. It's, just that perfect balance. And on top of that, Neil Young's voice just sounds really good on this. He's someone who has an interesting voice, a high voice that basically sounds like falsetto, even when he's not doing falsetto. But he's also not doing anything flashy with it. So the highness just creates a nice clarity. It's like a nice, smooth drink of water. So let's talk about the tracks on here. The opening track is called Going Back. It's a mysterious, nostalgic song. When I heard the first couple verses, I wondered if Neil Young was even writing about the dinosaurs coming to term with extinction or something. Then, however, there was a lyric about like construction work, and I started to wonder, okay, it's probably more like a metaphor for some falling apart industrial town, but it didn't have the feel of that kind of song. It had a laid back, spiritual calmness to it that more favored by dinosaurs theory. So I don't know. Track number 2 is called Comes a Time. Musically, this was a great example of the great production on this record. So violins, broadly speaking, can serve two functions. Sometimes they're used as backing orchestration that just gives a song a nice thickness or an epicness to a singer's performance. Other times, however, they're used as solo instruments, creating either a mysterious vibe, like on Bob Dylan's Desire album, or a country vibe. I guess this is when they would be called fiddles rather than violins. What I like about the production on this song, and I don't think this is the first time Neil Young did this either, but it's a great choice regardless, is that he uses both kind of strings. You have rich background strings, and you also have those nice little fiddle riffs. And so that both gives the song a solid, rich foundation while also giving it that feel of country fun. Thematically, it's similar to track 1 in that it's a vaguely worried about the passing of time, but unlike track 1, rather than being sung on this grand spiritual level, it sounds more like it's sung from the perspective of a couple growing old together. Track number 3 is called Look Out for My Love. Again, we get a subtle change in genre. This one sounds like a bit more like something from the Tonight the album. It's stripped down and acoustic and a little bit angry. The song cynically describes love as almost a strategic arrangement. I better be good to you because maybe one day you'll be good to me, it goes. Obviously, that would be a very cynical way for a relationship to exist if it was not metaphorical. But even presuming it is metaphorical, one has to ask what leads the singer or the character in the song to see a relationship this way. Track number 4 is called Lotta Love. And kind of like the stuff from Neil Young's debut album, this one sounds like it's being sung by a lonely person imagining a whole relationship just while staring at a person. In other words, it's entirely hypothetical. It's trying to imagine a future. And just like with track 3 on this album, Look Out for My Love, this one has some real cynicism in it. The singer is trying to plan and envision something that, well, really can't be planned and envisioned. So he's making these dramatic statements that are not tied in reality at all. Track number 5 is called Peace of Mind. Its chorus of it takes a long, long time ends up sounding like a pessimistic version of Jimmy Cliff's chorus of you can do it if you really want. Young uses simple lyrics to say big things. The standout here is him singing, things were fine when you treated her kind. So again, this is a very obvious statement. Obviously, things will be better if you treat people kindly. But because of its simplicity and because of the vagueness, there's a sort of haunting after effect where you're wondering, what's the backstory? What led a person to lose sight of the basic lesson that kindness is important? Track number 6 is called Human Highway. This one has more of a classic country sound to it. It brings in a banjo. And once again, we see Young singing about how he sees himself and bringing back themes from his earlier records. We see Young singing about how he sees himself as a country boy at heart. Also in the song, he refers again to the concept of kindness, or in the song, unkindness. But this time he's not talking about himself, or the singer's not talking about himself, but he's talking about the outsiders being unkind to him. So again, very simple language, but one can possibly parse a theme to here. The world is unkind. I'm unkind because of the world. It's a whole bad energy. Track number 7 is called Already Won. I guess we now get a love song that's a bit more optimistic, though not really. I mean, I get what it's saying in this one is, well, I have all these doubts about love, but we seem to be committed to each other, so I guess we have to make this thing work. I feel like there's a feeling in these songs that Young is writing about people not as detailed, rounded personalities, but just sort of as a free-flowing collection of souls. Sometimes we come together and mesh, and there's love, and it's beautiful, but oftentimes we're drifting past each other in this sea of hopelessness. Sorry if this is too hippie for people. I'm just interpreting the songs. That's the vibe I get from them. Track number 8 is called Field of Opportunity. So I feel like the final 3 songs on this record are a bit more lighthearted. This one just uses a catchy country sound and brings in a folksy metaphor about plowing to convey some broadly folky wisdom that just adds up to saying life is unpredictable. You will learn new lessons and hopefully turn out for the better every year. But it's a catchy song. As is track number 9, Motorcycle Mama, which is just a fun little blues rocker. And we finally get a cover to end the album of Four Strong Winds. The original version was by the Canadian folk duo of Ian and Sylvia Tyson. And as far as its message goes, it's a more serious version of the message in Fields of Opportunity, you know, saying you travel around and shake things up, and hopefully every time you try something new, maybe something better will happen in the new year, but you can't really be sure. And I just think it's a nice touch to have Neil Young singing the song, because Ian Tyson has a deeper voice. So Neil Young's higher, more free-flowing sound just makes the song sound pleasantly different enough. So yeah, overall, some very simple lyrics on this one that you could choose or not choose to interpret various degrees of deep meaning to. But I just think this is an excellent example of great musical production. You know, not quite on the heavy Phil Spector side, not on the underdone Rick Rubin or someone even more underdone side, right in this perfect middle and with a real appreciation for country instrumentation. It's a cool record. I'm Zach Morgenstern. This is Ludwig von B. See you next time.